29. The paragraph in reality.
One.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
In reality, thought is only a scout and pioneer. It can guide, but not command or effectuate. The leader of the journey, the captain of the march, the first and most ancient priest of a sacrifice is the will. This will is not the wish of the heart or the demand or preference of the mind to which we often give the name. It is that inmost, dominant, and often veiled conscious force of our being and of all being, tapas, shakti, shraddha, that sovereignly determines our orientation and of which the intellect and the heart are more or less blind and automatic servants and instruments. The self that is quiescent, at rest, vacant of things and happenings, is a support and background to existence, a silent channel or a hypostasis of something supreme. It is not itself the one entirely real existence, not itself the supreme. The eternal, the supreme is the Lord and the all originating spirit, superior to all activities and not bound by any of them. It is the source, sanction, material, efficient power, master of all activities. All activities proceed from this supreme self and are determined by it. All are its operations, processes of its own conscious force and not of something alien to self. Some power other than the spirit. In these activities is expressed the conscious will or Shakti of the spirit, moved to manifest its being in infinite ways, a will or power not ignorant,
Hello, Jogi.
but at one.
I'll call you back. Sorry, I got a call.
It's okay. A will or power not ignorant, but at one with its own self-knowledge and its knowledge of all that it is put out to express. And of this power, a secret spiritual will and soul faith in us, the dominant hidden force of our nature, is the individual instrument, more nearly in communication with the Supreme, a surer guide and enlightener. Could we once get at it and hold it, because profounder and more intimately near to the identical and absolute than the surface activities of our thought process. To know that will in ourselves and in the universe and follow it to its divine finalities, whatever these may be, must surely be the highest way and the truest culmination for knowledge as for works, for the seeker in life and for the seeker in yoga.
Okay, so quite a big para, and we'll go detailed one by one in the sentences because we have to identify each word, what he's saying. Okay. Before we start reading the para, let me remind you that he has finished. We are at 290 pages, so he has finished with Karma Yoga because there we had the concept of sacrifice and all that. Now he is dealing with the Jnana Yoga as applicable in the interior yoga. Then the third one will be the Bhakti Yoga, which is a very short section. It's not a very big one. Then the last one will be the integral yoga. 4 sections of the synthesis of yoga. The first was Karma Yoga, which we have finished. Then we have, and Karma Yoga, the essence is sacrifice. Whatever you do for the divine and not for yourself. Then the ego disappears. Now he is talking on the Jnana Yoga. And Jnana Yoga is quite a large section. He will also discuss the Raj Yoga and Hatha Yoga. Hatha Yoga also to a certain extent at the end of the section. Then he will go to, as I said, he will go to the Bhakti Yoga and finally end up with the last section, which is the integral yoga. So, this is what he is doing. So we must remember that. And he is discussing the Jnana Yoga is done through the mind. The Bhakti Yoga is done through the heart and emotions. The Karma Yoga is done with the will and the body, actions of the body. So, now here, I'll read each sentence and we'll see. So, in the beginning, he has told us that it is through the mind that we do the Jnana Yoga. You make mind You take it as a support, and finally when you silence your mind, then you reject the mind also. You reject the body, you reject the vital, and you reject the mind also and come above the body-mind life. That is the Jnana Yoga path. You normally reject the physical world in the Jnana Yoga path. You go only to the self and you are more than satisfied. That's the Brahma, the Brahmic consciousness, Brahman. Okay? And usually in India, that was sufficiently satisfying for most yogis, and they thought that that's the end of the journey. Because once you stabilize your Brahmic consciousness, the Brahman, then you can get liberation. You need not take birth again. It's up to you. You can choose to come back or you need not come back. If you want to come back for any reason, you will end up as a far superior person than the average man. You will take a body-mind life, but you will be able to do your, come to the yogic consciousness very quickly. Okay. So now, with this background, I am reading the paragraph. In reality, thought is only a scout and pioneer. So a scout is one who looks here. Good morning, Yasmin.
Good morning. Sorry I'm late, but I don't have the book.
Okay, it doesn't matter.
I'm traveling.
Okay. Now, in reality, thought is only a scout and a pioneer. The reality, the thought is only it's a crutch. It's a scaffolding. You use it to climb up, and after that, it's got no fundamental importance in the yoga. Okay, it's used as a crutch. It's only a scout. A scout is one who is looking here and there and exploring. And pioneer, it is the one that helps you in the Jnana Yoga. It's a pioneer in Jnana Yoga, not in other yogas. It can guide, but not command or effectuate. There you are. Okay. It can give you a guidance. This is right, that is wrong. But it cannot command or effectuate. It cannot also bring about changes in the body-mind life. The leader of the journey, the captain of the march, the first and most ancient priest of our sacrifice is the will. Now, this is a very interesting thing, because the ancient priest and the leader of the journey is obviously a psychic being. So, when you see these words, you will understand immediately. The most ancient priest, very clearly, the psychic being. Okay? The leader of the journey. In Siddhanta Yoga, leader of the journey is not the mind, but the psychic being. So first is you have to, the psychic transformation. Okay? But remember also, I keep repeating these things because it has become absolutely stabilized in your mind. The psychic being gives you the purification of the body, mind, life and the consciousness. It need not give you, it gives you knowledge, but at the lower level, not the spiritual knowledge. But if the psychic being, after realization, joins the self, then you get knowledge also. But the knowledge comes only from the self, above, and not inside yourself, which is the heart. The leader of the journey, the captain of the march, there you are, okay? The captain of the march. The beginning, psychic being is most important. The first and most ancient priest of our sacrifice is the will. So I remember the very first verse of the Rig Veda is that, okay? It shows that the ancient priest, this will, it's the psychic being's characteristics are the will, and also it is also very, very often called Agni, okay? Because when the psychic being is realized, it really starts purifying you with heat, okay? The heat starts, sometimes it is felt as a fever, but sometimes it is felt as something else. It starts purifying you. Even the burns can come on your body, okay? It starts purifying in such a way. Okay? And very interesting, he is talking about the will. Now, this is a very interesting thing. Where is the will? In which part of us, for instance, desire, okay, is very clearly located in the vital. Okay. Where is the thinking? It is very clearly located in the mind. It's not located certainly in your muscles. Okay. So, where is the will located? Okay. So, very clearly he is telling you that it is not located anywhere, but it is mostly in the psychic being. Okay? It's on the psychic being. And note interestingly, he is telling you also, this will is not the wish of the heart or the demand or preference of the mind, to which we often give the name. We feel that our will is very often vital determination and also in the mind. But no, it is not so. It is mostly, it is not located anywhere, but it is a characteristic of the psychic being, the will. Okay? When the psychic being comes forward, to make a will is very easy. But the mind's will and the vital's will, very, very ineffective. Okay. But today you are sure you will do, tomorrow the will disappears. But the psychic being, it makes things very easy. Okay. Once you decide something, it will remain. This will is not the wish of the heart or the demand or preference of the mind. Note the words very carefully. The wish of the heart. The heart doesn't have so much of a will. It's only a wish. Oh, I wish I could be like this. Oh, I wish I can do this. Okay? Even when you think that you have got a will, it's not really a will. It's only a wish of the heart. Or the demand. The mind thinks that it can demand things and it is a preference. But it doesn't really work. Temporarily it works and then after that it disappears. It's only the psychic being's will. There is some capacity to last and be permanent, to which we often give the name. It is that inmost, dominant and often veiled conscious force of our being and of all being, very clearly is referring to the psychic being without naming it. Okay? Tapas, Shakti, Shraddha. Tapas is intensity of concentration and tapasya. Shakti, power. Shraddha, faith. Faith. That sovereignly determines our orientation and of which the intellect and heart are more or less blind and automatic servants and instruments. So when the heart opens and the psychic being comes forward, very clearly they automatically follow whatever is the decision to be made by the psychic being. Automatic servants and instruments. More or less blind. They are not fully, but they obey. The self that is quiescent, at rest, vacant of things, featureless. Remember, very interesting. Vacant of things. Neither action, nor desire, nor any vital emotions, nor thoughts. It's vacant of all these things. It's quiescent, at rest. Immutable is the word normally used. When you are in the self, your consciousness is not moving at all. It is absolutely static and it is watching everything without judgment. Okay? Vacant of things and happenings is a support and background to existence, a silent channel or a hypostasis of something supreme. Now, what does the word hypostasis mean? It means underlying reality. Underlying reality. That's a sense. Okay? Of something supreme. You can say the self is a representation and a go-between between your lower nature and the higher nature. The self, which is supposed to be in Indian practice, not in theory, but in practice, it is supposed to be the end of the journey of Jnana Yoga. You go to the self when you are more than satisfied. Why? Because you are liberated. You are calm. You have rejected your body, mind, life, and you are in the complete silent Brahman, and you can remain there forever if you realize it, not experience it. You have to realize it. It must become permanent. So this self is very clearly something in between. It's an underlying reality of something supreme. Something supreme, the Purushottama, the highest level of consciousness for man at present. Okay, it could be more than that afterwards. After the supermental race comes, it can be even more than that. It is not itself the one entirely real existence, not itself the supreme. So very clearly, Swami is telling you that the Brahman consciousness need not be the end of life, end of your spiritual journey. Very clearly he is telling you, it is not itself the one entirely real existence. But if you want to remain there, you can. Once you have reached yourself, you can locate yourself in the Brahmaloka or the Jnanaloka or the Janaloka, the Anandaloka. There are so many words above in the spiritual fields of consciousness. And you can choose any one and remain there according to your nature. Okay? All these worlds are fully populated. Don't think that they are not populated. All these rishis and all that, very often they decide to remain there permanently above. And they help human beings also with their help. Or they need not. They can just live there. So, not as the Supreme. The eternal, the Supreme, is the Lord and all-originating Spirit. Now look at the two words, Lord and Spirit. Lord is very clearly the personal aspect of the divine. Lord. Okay? And the all-originating Spirit is very clearly the impersonal aspect of the divine. So the Supreme is impersonal as well as personal. Whereas the Self is absolutely impersonal. There is no personal experience of the divine in this Self. That's why it's supposed to be knowledge and the highest. But through Bhakti Yoga, you can get the personal aspect of the divine. You can see him, you can have relations with him. But if you have a relation with somebody, it is supposed to be limited and inferior to the Jnana Yoga path. Shraddha doesn't agree with that fully. It's another aspect. But the Jnana Yoga path leads you to the Self, which is absolutely impersonal. It is vacant. Shraddha is saying it is vacant of everything. It is absolutely featureless, immutable, permanent, eternal, infinite. Okay, that's the Self. So, very clearly he is saying, it's a Supreme, the Self, the Brahmic consciousness is not the highest. Okay? A silent channel, it's a silent channel and an underlying reality of something Supreme. That something Supreme is the supermind, or you can call it also the Purushottama consciousness. The Purushottama consciousness is one aspect of the Supreme. It is not the Supreme, it's not the Supreme itself, but it is one aspect of the Supreme, the Purushottama consciousness. It is not itself the one entirely real existence, not itself the Supreme. And he's telling you it's the Supreme is the Lord and the all-originating Spirit. It is both personal and impersonal. Superior to all activities and not bound by any of them. It is the source, sanction, material, efficient power. What does it mean by material? The stuff, okay, the substance. That's what it means. Okay, it is substance. Material does not mean physical. Here it means the substance. Okay. When you have a good cloth, you say, oh, the material is very good. In that sense, the word material is being used here, not the substance. It is a substance, but not the physical. Efficient power. When you go to the supramental level, you have the power to change your body-mind life. You don't have the power in the Self. In the Brahmic consciousness, you don't have power. You are separated from the body-mind life, but no power. No power means relatively no power. Not bound by any of them. It is a source, sanctioned, material, efficient power, master of all activities. All activities proceed from the Supreme Self and are determined by it. All are its operations, processes of its own conscious force and not of something alien to Self. So, it is when that decision is taken at the highest level, it takes a long time for that decision to become a reality in the physical world. It comes to the Self, finally it comes to the individual, body-mind life, but by the time it comes down, it is distorted and it takes a lot of time, and the original intention of the divine at the highest level gets diluted and even deformed. Okay? Now take very interestingly the decision of in India. My mother has mentioned that in her talks, that's why. In 1920, Shraddha knew very clearly, and mother also had the experience, that India is going to be free. The decision was taken at that highest level. But when did it become a reality? 27 years later. But by the time it came down, the intention got deformed, and instead of India being totally free, what you call the Akhanda Bharat, it got divided into Pakistan and India. Okay? So it got distorted, the intention. that intention will fulfill itself in time. There is no doubt about it. In the 5-6 years, you will see that Pakistan also will disintegrate, and Bangladesh also is more or less likely to be that. So there is a distortion that takes place. Okay, so this is an example of what Siddha is saying. Okay. All activities proceed from that supreme self, from the highest level, and are determined by it. All are its operations, processes of its own conscious force, and not of something alien to self. Okay? So, alien to self means it comes down to the self, but it is not something contrary to the self. Some power other than the spirit. In these activities is expressed the conscious will or Shakti of the spirit, moved to manifest its being in infinite ways. There you are. So when it comes down and becomes in infinite ways, obviously the one intention can go into several directions. Infinite ways. It splits up. The one decision becomes the many facts in the physical world. Okay? To manifest its being in infinite ways, a will or power, not ignorant, but at one with its own self-knowledge and its knowledge of all that it is put out to express. So, when it comes down, it is subject to its own law of deformation and multiplicity. And of this power, a secret spiritual will and soul faith in us, the dominant hidden force of our nature. Which is the dominant hidden force of our nature? Very clearly, the psychic being is an individual instrument. The psychic being is individual. The self above is not individual. It is cosmic. These distinctions are very interesting and you must understand clearly, because then you have a clear picture. The self is not individual. It is individual, but much more than that, it is the cosmic. Okay, it's not located in time and space. It doesn't have features. It is featureless. Okay, vacant. So, and of this power, a secret spiritual will and soul faith in us, the dominant hidden force of our nature, is an individual instrument. The psychic being is individual. It develops. It's not static. Okay. More nearly in communication with the Supreme. So the psychic being is more nearly in communication, not with full, but it is more nearly in communication with the Supreme, a surer guide and enlightenment, not the mind. A surer while using the comparative. He is not using the surest or sure. He is saying surer, which is the comparative. The surest would be the superlative. So what he is meaning is that it is surer than the mind. Okay? And enlightenment. Could we once get at it and hold it? Hold what? That hidden force, which is a psychic being. Okay? A surer guide and enlightener. Could we once get at it and hold it? Getting at it is easier, but holding it is difficult. Okay? The psychic being is a very powerful thing. Okay? It completely changes your life, because profounder and more intimately near to the identical and absolute. Now, the word identical is very interesting. What does it mean? It means there is nothing else. Everything is identical to each other, which means oneness. So, when he uses the word identical, he is talking of the oneness. There is nothing which is not identical. When two things are identical, you say that they have the same nature and the same quality. So, identical with an I cap means one. And absolute. Okay? Then the surface activities of our thought powers. So there you are. He is very clearly telling you that the psychic should be the guide at the lower level. Okay? He is comparing that with the mind. To know that will in ourselves. And where is that will? Very clearly he has told you that it is psychic being. And in the universe. That will, there is a divine will, impersonal will in the universe. And there is a divine will within us, which is a psychic being, which is individual. Okay? To know that will in ourselves and in the universe and follow it to its divine finality. The psychic has a faith that the divine will ultimately triumph. So you have to follow that. Whatever these may be, because in different conditions, the divine may have different intentions. For India, the divine will have an intention. For America, there will be a different intention. So when it comes down, he is following different finalities. Must surely be the highest way and truest culmination for knowledge as of works. I spoke up to countries, but it can also be for different people. We have got 2,000 people in the ashram, and for each one, there will be a different intention. The divine intention will be different for each one. Whatever they may be, must surely be the highest way and truest culmination for knowledge as of works. Works is the one that he has already discussed before, the Karma Yoga path. Knowledge, the Jnana Yoga path. For the seeker in life and for the seeker in yoga. So including all that for the seeker in life also. Not necessarily yoga. Okay? So, it is 30. We have got 10 minutes. So I'll do one thing. We'll read the next para. But before that, I'll just give you the summary of what he said here. We have gone into detail to see each word and identify each word. So then you can understand. So next time you read, you will know exactly what he's saying. Okay? Agni, the ancient priest, all these are words for the psychic being. And when he uses the word identical, now you know that he's talking of the one. Okay? So the summary of the paragraph that we have just now read goes like this. The nature of the human being and its various parts and powers. The human being has, in his surface nature, a mind, a heart, which is the higher vital, a life, which is the lower vital, and a body. Okay? But there is in him additionally the subconscious, below conscious level, the inconscient, which is the bedrock of ignorance and unconsciousness, the intraconscious, which is within him, itself also calls it the subliminal, and the superconscious, which is above him, and there's also the universe, the environment around you, which is the circumconscious. These are words that Ranga uses sometimes, not always, around him. Now, which is the part that dominates and governs the other parts? Okay, so normally it is Manomaya Prana Sharira Neta, says the Upanishad. The mind is superior to heart and body and should be the leader of the others. And indeed, it is the Neta of Prana and Sharira, at least in the ignorance of lower nature. But considering the entire being, mind is seen only as a scout and pioneer. Okay? Mind is a seeker of knowledge, not a discoverer of truth. Very clearly, mind is a seeker of knowledge and not a discoverer of truth. It cannot command or make effective. It can only indicate and guide to a certain extent. The leader of man's being in the spiritual quest is the will, the priest of the sacrifice, the psychic being, seated deep inside the heart region. It has nothing to do with the heart, vital or mind, except to try and influence them for the better. But in most men, it is veiled, but conscious and Godward oriented. The mind and the heart are automatic followers of the psychic Agni, the will, tapas, shakti, shraddha. Okay? The self that is above mind, not in or behind the heart, is a silence, a quiet, inactive presence, no movement at all. It's a mere witness with no power to effectuate. It's a support only. The one real power is the eternal, the supreme, the Lord, the Ishvara. He is the source, sanction, and master of all activities. Man's psychic being represents this Lord. It's an ambassador. It's a representation. Not transcendent, but individual. The psychic being is individual and it's not transcendent. It is inside the subliminal, in the intraconscious. It is the psychic being that carries out, executes the Supreme's will and intention in the world. Therefore, to know that Supreme will and intention and execute it flawlessly must surely be the culmination of the path of knowledge and also of works. This is what he has said about what we read just now. Okay. Quite a lot he has said. So now, we can read, we have got 6 minutes. We can read the next one. The traditional way of knowledge. So who will read? Somebody has to read. Archana, we finished reading. Now, Jasmine doesn't have the book, so maybe Jishnu you can read if you have the text, or if Jishnu is not.
One second, sir. I will.
Okay, go ahead. The traditional way of knowledge.
It is 219, Ranga, behind the traditional way of knowledge, right?
The traditional way.
Yes, I found it. Sorry. The traditional way of knowledge proceeds by elimination and rejects successively the body, the life, the senses, the heart, the very thought in order to merge into the quiescent self or supreme nihil or indefinite absolute. The way of integral knowledge supposes that we are intended to arrive at the integral self-fulfillment, and the only thing that is to be eliminated is our own unconsciousness, the ignorance, and the results of the ignorance. Eliminate the falsity of the being which figures as the ego. Then our true being can manifest in us. Eliminate the falsity of life which figures as the mere vital craving and the mechanical round of our corporeal existence. Our true life, the power of the Godhead and the joy of the infinite will appear. Eliminate the falsity of the senses with their subjection to material shows and to dual sensations.
1 minute. Sorry to disturb. Just 1 minute. We have to read the previous paragraph, Vishnu. The thought, since it is not the highest. I read the paragraph just before that.
Okay.
I was a little confused. I was checking that I may not have said.
Yes. I made
That read from the thought.
Okay.
Page 290. The
Page
thought.
290. Yeah.
Sorry.
I will read that.
Sorry.
So
My
page
mistake.
290, starting from the thought. The thought, since it is not the highest or strongest part of nature, not even the soul or deepest index to truth, ought not to follow its own exclusive satisfaction or take from the sign of its attainment to the supreme knowledge. It is here as the guide up to a certain point of the heart, the life, and the other members, but it cannot be a substitute for them. It has to see not only what is its own ultimate satisfaction, but whether there is not an ultimate satisfaction intended also for these other members. An exclusive path of abstract thought would be justified only if the object of the supreme will in the universe has been nothing more than a descent into the activity of the ignorance operated by the mind as blinding instrument and jailer through false idea and sensation, and an ascent into the quiescence of knowledge, equally operated by the mind through the correct thought as enlightening instrument and savior. But the chances are that there is an aim in the world less absurd and aimless, an impulse towards the absolute less dry and abstract, a truth of the world more large and complex, a more richly infinite height of the infinite. Certainly, an abstract logic must always arrive, as the old systems arrived, at an infinite empty negation or an infinite equally vacant affirmation. For abstract, it moves towards an absolute abstraction, and these are the only two abstractions that are absolutely absolute. But a concrete, ever-deepening wisdom, waiting on more and more reaches of the infinite experience, and not the confident abstract logic of the narrow and incompetent human mind, is likely to be the key to a divine superhuman knowledge. The heart, the will, the life, and even the body, no less than the thought, are forms of a divine conscious being and indices of great significance. These two have powers by which the soul can return to its complete self-awareness, or means by which it can enjoy it. The object of the supreme will may well be a culmination in which the whole being is intended to receive its divine satisfaction. The heights enlightening the depths, the material inconscient revealed to itself as the divine by the touch of the supreme superconscience.
So they will do this next time. It's full of suggestions and full of all these words we'll have to identify so that we have a very clear map of all the regions from the highest level to the lowest level. He's mapping them. So we'll do that next time. Okay. But he's saying that can Jnana Yoga path, the mind, can that be the end? Then he said that there can be, using a very strong word, he's saying, it's a more ridiculous, it is ridiculous to think that that's only the end of the journey. There is much more. You have not only the silence, but you must have the power, you must have the ananda, all these things. What about the other aspects? So surely there is something much more than that. So that's what he's saying. We'll do that next time, and the paragraph of thought, since it is not. Okay. So 290, page 290, the thought. We'll read this paragraph. Okay. So, au revoir everybody. Have a nice day. Very interesting paragraph.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Rangada.
Some of you I will see